Hello and welcome to the series of videos about SDF. We have seen how classes can be provided as dependencies. Can we configure a string or an int or floating point value as dependency? Yes, but as a constant. If you look at it, strings or numbers actually hold some constant values, that is, values that are not changed throughout the entire application lifecycle. Hence, they are resolved as constants. Keep in mind that only classes in java.lang packages, that is string along with other wrapper types and primitive types, can only be configured as constant. Also, each constant must have an ID associated using which they shall be resolved. Let's see how. If you notice, we have two such use cases in our application which are constants in nature. They are one in the object store, that is this path, and second, this pattern in this date time generator. Instead of hard coded, let's pass them as constant dependencies. So we will define two values for each and set an ID. We'll create a new class called constant providers, and then we'll start with, have to write at constant. We'll name the IDs later. Let's first define them. We'll say path 1. In this, we'll return this one, and we'll have path 2 where we will return objects, let's say, right? Similarly, we'll define constants for the pattern, that is a date time format. Constant we'll say pattern 1, return this, and then another one, let's call it pattern 2, and here we'll call it mmdd, and we'll also remove the milliseconds from here. Now let's give the IDs. So here we'll say files, here we'll say objects, and here we'll give full date time, and here we'll give short date time. Then we will expect constant as dependencies in the respective classes. So in the object store, we'll remove this and we'll take it like this. At bind, we have to bind for any dependencies, be it constant or a dependency, that is with ID. So we'll give ID equals, we'll say files to start with, and then string path, and we'll create a parameter for this and replace this with the new path. What is the problem here? So if you see here, we are providing the dependency through a factory method, right? So instead of configuring it here, this bind annotation, we have to give it in the factory method, like here, and we have to pass this path here, like this. So when this method will be called by SDF to construct dependency provider for the iStore, that is object store, it will inject the constant with ID files. Similarly, we'll have to do one for iDateTime generator. I'll remove the pattern here. The constructor, I'll take the pattern and I'll replace this pattern with this one. And if I go to the provider, similar to store, I have to bind with an ID. I'll take full date time for now, string pattern, and pass the pattern here. What we have done, instead of hard coding the constant values here in object store and date time ID generator, we are taking it as a dependency and we are providing them as a constants, right? Now we have taken files, this constant for id, and we have taken this one for the pattern. So if we run the program now, it should work as it was working earlier, right? We haven't done any change. Let's see that for now first. So it gives a error. What is the error? Let's see. Could not load class this, missing dependency, full dead time, right? Again, constant is a different from dependency provider, so we have to tell SDF that okay, there are some constants as well. So we have this dependency resolver config. Apart from dependency providers instance, we have to also pass the constant providers instance like this. Now if we run the program now, it should work as it is. It is saving in this files directory, and we have used the id, so it's using id. Let's change the id to date time for a moment and see what it uses. Let's run it. Right, so if you see, the id is that full date time and it is generated in files. Now let's change the constant ids. Here instead of files, we'll use objects, and instead of full date time, we'll use short date time. Now if we run the program, the expectation is instead of writing the files in this files directory, it should write in a directory called objects in the same location, and the id should be shortened, like it should start from month and till the seconds. It should remove the milliseconds and the year, right? Let's just see that. As expected, the id is shortened. It wrote the files in a directory called objects in the same location. This one. See, the IDs are matching 1216231821. As we can see in this video, constants were injected based on the provided ID and worked as expected. We'll see other features about SDF in the next series of videos. Until then, happy learning and happy coding.